everybody. Welcome back to the Commute with So Wizard podcast. Game of Thrones had its big ending this past weekend. A lot of people were disappointed. Really, the whole last season was kind of disappointing. I'm just going to touch on one topic for the sake of time. We like to keep these short, but it will contain spoilers. If you have not finished the season yet, you might as well go ahead and finish it. You put so much time into it. Sure, it could have been better. Maybe we'll get the real ending at some point. Anyway, spoilers going forward for the end of Game of Thrones. The big issue that I had, and I guess a lot of people had with this last season, was that the writing felt like it was done by entirely new people. Like it was a fan-made, well, it literally was fan fiction because George R. R. Martin didn't write it, he created the series. The biggest crime to me was in how all the characters were acting. The writers seemed to make them act way out of character and do things for the sake of getting new plot points across or trying to cram way too much and way too little. For example, the first couple episodes had Daenerys acting like a jealous 12-year-old instead of the confident ruler she wants to be. But the biggest crime, I think, because they never tried to course correct it at all, was what they did to Brienne of Tarth. Brienne, as you know, is probably the best knight in the Seven Kingdoms, and that was even before she officially got her knighthood. After she got her knighthood, it's undisputed. And she was always strong and independent, and life really had her down in this male-driven world, but also because people sarcastically would call her Brienne the Beauty. She's, too big, she's too strong, she's too confident, whatever it was. People didn't see her as a lady, and she didn't want to be a lady. So there's this whole plot going on between Brienne and Jaime, where Jaime sees Brienne as the knight he could be, he should be, with all of his privilege and all of his upbringing, and she's this noble beacon of light and hope and everything that a knight of Westeros is supposed to be, despite all the disadvantages, which I thought was a great move. Game of Thrones as a series also started off with all these downtrodden, weak women who really came into their own and came into power. It was a big theme of the whole series, of all of Song and Ice and Fire, not just the Game of Thrones. So in the end, Brienne and Jaime end up sleeping together a couple times, and Jaime thinks he could start this new life and be this noble guy and hang out in Winterfell after they defeated the Night King and, I don't know, be a decent person for a change. But people don't really change at their core all that often. Jaime ends up going back to try to get Cersei to either surrender or just to escape with him before Daenerys can tear down King's Landing, which leaves Brienne a crying, blubbering mess, and that's where my issue starts. Brienne wanted to sleep with Jaime. I don't care, whatever it is, whether you agree or disagree, it doesn't matter, it happened. But to have this strong, independent character who has had such a tough life and had to deal with such adversity to just become a crying, sobbing mess really seemed disingenuous to her character. It really seemed like a disservice to the actress who put in such a great, powerful performance, who, when things would take her down, when things would ruin her mood, she could just swallow it and move on. And I can see her being more upset about Jaime leaving. I can see her being upset about, I thought we were going to do this thing together and now we're not. I get all that. But then they further the problem in the last episode, which was very TV, is the only way I can really describe it. It was a much happier ending than I think anyone would have expected. And whether you disagree or agree with any of that is neither here nor there. But my point is, the last shot we get of Brienne of Tarth, of this strong, independent knight who was nothing but nobility and virtue and a woman of her word and a competent swordsman and all these great, really, all these great things you should aspire to, she gets promoted to the Kingsguard under the new king, which is a great service to her because she was on a Kingsguard before with Renly when she believed in him. And that didn't go so well for her. It really only lasted like a day, according to the show. That is totally washed over. We don't get to see her ascension. We don't get to see her celebrating it. We don't get to see anything positive, really. What we do get is Brienne taking the book of all the heads of the Kingsguards that has their biographies in it and writing about how great Jaime Lannister was. This strong, independent character in a show where all the female characters really came into their own her last 2 episodes are crying and then writing about the guy who burned her. It just really seemed like a disservice to the character. I imagine Gwendolyn Christie's really disappointed in what they did to her strong, independent, confident character. It would have been nice if she got to wrap up her own story instead of somebody else's story. Thanks for taking this ride with me. Remember to check out SoWizardPodcast.com for the show, merchandise, reviews, recommendations, and more. Check out So Wizard Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Also check out So Wizard Podcast Patreon page. You can support the show for as little as $1 a month. Extra episodes every month. And it'll really help everybody. All the So Wizard crew got press passes to New York Comic Con, and we are going to flood the site and the podcast and everywhere, the YouTube channel, with content. Speaking of the YouTube channel, also please remember to subscribe. It really helps us grow the show. And let us know what you think in the comments on social media. All of our social media links can be found in the show notes or after the show. So, thanks.